Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Books I Read with My Cat. I'm your host, Allison.
I'm Courtney.
And I'm Val.
Today we have a special guest.
Hi, I'm Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
Lucy is our wonderful local bookshop owner, Blinking Owl Books, and we're so excited to have her.
Whoop,
I'm so
whoop.
excited to be
Whoop whoop.
Yay.
She's my book dealer.
here.
It's true. At this point, I think Courtney might have a problem.
No, I don't.
It's a good problem.
I want to.
Is it really a problem, though?
On Wednesday after book club, Courtney was like, look, I'm only getting 2 books. And then I was like, okay, how many do you have on your shelf that you haven't read yet? She's like,
Right, Val.
16.
I think 2 is remarkable self-restraint.
1, I end up buying a 3rd book. 2,
You're right. You did find another one after I left.
but it was for the podcast.
All right,
That's
we can
right.
write that off.
Yeah, it's going to be written off.
It's a tax write-off.
Therefore, it doesn't count. 2, I am steadily working through my bookcase. I have been doing very good about it.
I
You
am
know,
not.
how many unread books do you have?
I don't know the number.
Okay.
I mean, there's got to be at least 5. You know.
Uh-huh. Multiply that times 2, 3, 4.
Probably 4.
At least I know the number.
I'm directly looking at 5 on the shelf above my bed, so there's at least 5.
Okay.
The main
At minimum
bookcase
5.
is nobody's business.
Here, I will make you all feel better. I was very bad about logging my books last year because I have an app that tracks everything in my home library. But my number of unread books is at least 430 strong.
Oh my god.
Do you have
wish.
floor space?
That's a library.
So no, I don't have floor space. That's actually
Okay.
currently.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of you got a bookstore, you're gonna have all the books.
That's
It's
true.
true.
I'm sure you get a lot of ARCs.
Yes,
You
yes,
gotta
I
get
do.
all the things.
And is
It's
that
amazing.
unread books in the 400s?
Yes,
Or-
yeah.
okay.
That's not the whole collection. Nope, that's just that one stat.
You know,
Wow. I love
I
it
love
though.
it.
That's amazing.
That's like
I feel like you get an extra pass because it is your
Thank-
profession.
Thank you. Yes. And you never know
You're right.
when something is gonna sound so appealing. Like I've had stuff on my shelf for literal years, and then one day I'm like, today's the day, and it turned out to be a banger. So
I mean,
incredible.
That's nice.
That makes
It's like your
sense.
own personal library.
yes.
That was a statement. You know what I mean?
No, yes, absolutely. I feel comforted by books. Like when I'm an anxious traveler, so when I am traveling, I always try to find the airport bookstore feels like a generous term, but the place where they have the most books at a newsstand. And I'm like, oh, this is soothing.
The one corner of the newsstand that has 2 bookcases.
Yes, and I always am so curious at what has made it into the airport bookstore. So
I've seen a trend of books, or not bookstores, of authors going to those newsstands with the books and signing them as they're traveling through airports. So I think that's really fun.
That is very fun.
You might find a little gem.
yes, one day I just want that to be me. I want to find the book by the author I love, but it's never any of the airports I'm at.
Is
Shame.
there a specific author you are looking for?
Oh, goodness. No, there is just a roster, but I feel like, of course, I cannot remember anybody recently who I saw do that, but it was definitely a couple of my ultra favorites because they've had books come out recently who are like, ooh, I saw it in the airport and I signed it. I was like, that's so cool.
I love that. Yeah, of course, majority of those big authors aren't going to come into our tiny little airport here. But does it even have books?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
It is just like the corner of the newsstand that has 2 bookcases, but it does.
I haven't been in that airport with like enough time to really like browse, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is so fair. I typically don't look at ours for the same reason, but I look at like whatever my layover airport is.
Yeah, definitely. We had a layover in O'Hare over the summer last year.
Ooh.
And there were so many newsstands and it was like, I want to stop by, but we had like a 30-minute trek across the airport with a 25-minute connection. So
Yeah. Yeah. And O'Hara is big. They'll get you. It's like Atlanta.
Yeah, and I don't think looking at books is an excuse to miss your flight. I don't think they'll accept that one.
No, I don't think so.
Rebook me, please. I got distracted.
I mean, it should be.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, hold the gate.
Wait,
hold the door
Delta,
open,
please hold. I need to look at these books.
I actually, when I was in Portland in September, they had like one like a gift shop that was like an Oregon gift shop, and they had a couple books by local authors there, so I picked one up, and now I'm gonna bring it with me when I go to Alaska this summer. So it's gonna crisscross the country twice.
Oh, fun!
Cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited to read it. That one
I love
I'm
that you're
waiting
saving
on
it.
purpose. I planned for it.
Is it a vacation book?
Yes, it is. It's called, what's it? A Summer in the City of Roses.
Ooh,
Interesting.
So like it actually takes place
And
in Portland.
Okay, that makes
Oh,
sense.
that's
Let me
cool.
make sure I got the title right.
and presumably in the summer.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're gonna read it in the summer.
I
That's
am.
perfect.
While I'm in
Better.
the Pacific Northwest, which is, pretty close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Alaska considered the Pacific Northwest?
It is. Well, like, I'll be flying into Seattle, so either way.
That's true. Yeah.
Flying into SeaTac. Okay.
So, Summer in the City of Roses by Michelle Ruiz Keil.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
So, what tea are we drinking, or anything? Are we drinking?
I
Since I
have
broke the
some
rule last week.
Zen green tea by Tazo.
Are you feeling
Yummy.
zen now?
I think I'm not gonna sleep tonight because I just realized it has caffeine. It's green tea.
Rip.
So, you know,
Oh, and that's right. You just said that, like, on Wednesday, that you are, like, caffeine will keep you up.
yeah, if you see me posting things on the internet at 2 a.m., it's none of your business.
It's nobody's business. It's not even your business.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
honestly.
I'm just cat in a trench coat.
Yeah,
It's fine.
it'll be a-okay.
I think that's my favorite thread so far that you posted.
Ever.
Oh,
You know, head over to our Threads account if you want to see me specifically, Val, being unhinged on the internet. Because you know what? It's a lot of fun.
and it worked.
I mean,
It did.
we got some new followers this week, and this is the first week of me unleashing that realm. So,
Love that for
Yeah.
you.
thank you.
It's amazing.
Anyway, what are you guys drinking?
I'm drinking a black pomegranate tea. It's part of
Ooh.
my Mad Hatter tea set that I talked about earlier. Episode.
Yum yum.
It's very tasty, and I put the vanilla honey in it that we got. Very good.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
we went to a
tasty.
local tea shop when Allie was in town a couple weeks ago, and all three of us separately bought the vanilla honey.
We had to.
It was
Yummy.
good. I put some in. I had a chai the other day, and I put some in there. It was delicious.
Oh, that does sound delicious.
Yes, it was very good.
I feel like I should have used it today, but I don't think it would have. I think I should wait for a different tea because I'm using the tea that I got from there called Dragon Dream.
Oh
that one was
yeah,
tasty.
So I used my orange honey in it. since it has pineapple, dragon fruit, hibiscus, orange stuff, apple pieces, strawberries, all a bunch of things in there. That's tropical.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
all
know
the
if a
fruits.
vanilla would complement that tea, but orange sounds delicious.
I think for science purposes, we should experiment one day, but orange, I think, is the best one.
Yes.
That tracks. That does.
Well, I am also breaking the rule. I am drinking Diet Coke. Because
Nice. Is
Nice.
it crispy?
it is crispy. And it's one of my favorite beverages. It's so refreshing.
Nice. A Diet Coke hits different.
It does. That was very close to being my drink of choice, seeing as I was a little busy to this podcast catching my cat. But then I threw on this tea, so Grizzly made an
Nice.
escape.
Naughty.
He made an escape to the outside world. Had a little nap in some bushes. So
Oh, buddy.
You know what? He can't get in trouble for that.
can't.
No, he's too cute.
Yeah.
And it took a
That was
minute to
precious.
catch him, but he wasn't moving fast. It's just because he's a bum and he's being whatever, and he's like, I'm not gonna leave this space. And he's in the middle of a bunch of spiky bushes and a pineapple plant, so I'm not gonna go in there and kill myself for a senior citizen, so
No. At least he didn't have to call the fire department.
yeah. Oh, he can't make it up a tree.
His old man bones.
He's not that agile anymore.
Oh.
Oh, Gritty.
Buddy.
That's adorable.
Yeah. So cute.
We'll post the picture of Grizzly in the bushes.
Yeah.
Because it's too cute.
It is adorable.
I love it.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be there.
And his little
Escape artist.
He is, and his little crumple ear. He's so cute.
He is a cutie.
It is such a good picture.
It is.
Bella had an escape moment last week too.
What?
I was
Naughty.
I know, I was outside planting my seeds. And so whenever we spend like more than 60 seconds outside, she's at the window being really annoying and meowing and like begging to go out. Because she used to be outside, an outside kitty, and for her safety, she is not anymore. And so my partner was talking to me through the door. He had cracked it open, and our conversation took a little bit longer than we anticipated. And she hops out with a little meow. And then she starts walking. And our partner starts freaking out, and I go, no. It's fine. And I just calmly scoop her up. She tried to grab onto the concrete, but that doesn't work. And then I threw her butt back in the house.
No. Bella.
I know. And then she was very upset afterwards.
I bet. You need to... I know you had leashes for your cats at some point. I think you need to reinvest in a harness and a leash.
She would hate it.
But Bella might be good enough that she doesn't need one. Danny absolutely does, because that little guy...
The monster.
There's nothing big enough for him.
He would need a dog
You need to
harness.
get a small dog.
But he can get out of dog harnesses because they're not made for cats and their liquid powers.
Zip ties.
Zip tying my cat into a harness.
No, zip tie the dog harness to be uncat liquided.
I love your words.
Thank you.
No, he's fine. Honestly, he doesn't like the harness anyway. He just starts army crawling very pathetically.
Grizzly had a really nice harness at one
Fair.
point. It was you call it?
Really? Oh,
It's
there's a
on-
picture.
Oh yeah,
of
you
him.
posted it. It's plaid. That's the word.
I did.
I love them.
That was like
Yeah.
his intro picture.
Yeah.
But we stopped doing that because after he learned of the great outdoors, he would just howl at the door for hours on end, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh no.
Sounds like a whale.
Oh no.
No. Does the like back porch area, the screened-in porch, not quell his
It
need for
doesn't have the
adventure
greenery
outside?
like that he likes to munch on. He likes to eat the grass, but then the
Mm,
grass doesn't like his
What
tummy,
a
so then
muncher.
we're like, nah, bro, you don't get the grass in the porch. So
yeah. Even with like cat grass, like if you got him catnip or not catnip, what's it called?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
cat grass.
I haven't tried, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Probably not a bad idea.
See, we tried to get Leo some of those, the cat grass, but this rips the entire plant out of the pot and drags it across the porch. And then mows it down to
Oh,
nothing,
no!
and then it's just dead.
I didn't know he does this.
Yeah, no, I stopped buying it for him because it would be like I would want to like grow it and then like snip off some leaves for him and give it to him as like a treat. But somehow he always finds the plant, even when it's up really high or like inside and like we can monitor it. The next day it's on the floor and like the soil's everywhere. The plant's gone because he ate it all.
Yeah,
The cat grass monster.
great.
Naughty,
So-
naughty.
Terry doesn't care. Doesn't even look at it. Doesn't even sniff it. Leo is the monster.
Is Terry even a cat?
You know, sometimes I wonder. He's just a bag of beans up there, I think.
Oh.
Lucy, you have a couple cats, right?
I do. I have 3 babies. Yeah, the oldest one, his name is Oliver, and he is ironically
Oh.
the smallest of them. And then my middle baby is Mr. Bingley, and he
Oh my
is
God.
the size of a small toddler. And then my baby is Nari, and she is my little witch kitty. And she, so both Bingley and Nari were gifted to me by the cat distribution system. Oliver is the only cat that I like intentionally went out looking for a
Oh.
cat and found.
Do your
So-
cats get up to antics?
Oh, all the time. Especially like Ollie and Nari they have a contentious relationship. So like they will both be minding their own business and then one will get it into their head, oh, I should go mess with my sibling. And then they will find wherever the other one is, or they'll like get ready to pounce and they just pounce on each other, swap at each other, and then the other one gets mad and it's like, why are we choosing violence?
Oh.
And then escape artist. So Bingley was, somebody had left him outside in a trailer park when I lived in Wyoming. And one of my coworkers saw like a post about him on Facebook and like went and picked him up. And then he apparently, her cat did not get along with him. And I had been looking to get a buddy for Oliver anyway. So I was like, okay, I guess this cat is mine now. And he would like, he very much liked being inside, but he would get squirrely and would like make a mad dash to escape, but not to like run away. He would just like run outside and then like hide, by like a bush or like the side of the house. And then I would to grab him. And at the time it was winter in Wyoming. So I would like tramp out in the
no.
snow, grab him, take him back inside. And every once in a while he's like calmed it down mostly, but I think he just like doesn't like not being able to go someplace. So every once in a while he will like dash out into the hallway of my apartment and then like very quickly realize what he has done
no.
and then like
Regrets his
run
life
right back
choices.
in.
At least he
Oh.
comes back.
Yeah, he's like, this is not what I thought, especially since it's inside, because like when I just think that's not the vibe, especially there's like no external windows, so it's very like
Mm.
weird, I think, for him. And then baby girl every once in a while will be like, what if I did that too? And then she will sometimes meander enough where I have to like go grab her. And again, it's not in like a running away. She's very curious and is like, what if I just saw what's over here? Both of them love people. So like in a way would be great to be bookstore cats. They are ham sandwiches. However, they also are chaos. So like they would knock things over or like try to run out the front door and then I would have a heart attack. So
They would not be
they
good
stay at home.
employees.
No. They would cause so much
and I
mischief.
know you and I have talked about you but you would like to get a bookstore cat at some point, maybe, if the temperament is right.
Yes, I would love it. So some friends of mine work at Blue Cypress Books in New Orleans, and they have Kitty Meow, and Kitty Meow is adorable. But like has the perfect temperament. She just kind of just like bops about and is very chill and like will be petted. But then like if she doesn't want to be petted anymore, she'll just go and like squirrel herself away somewhere. And so like I need to find the cat distribution system needs to deliver me a cat.
I
that
don't
is
know
like
if you
that.
know this, but on Wednesday I saw a cat running around during book club, like outside.
Yes, there are two. And every time I'm like, hey friends, they are not having it, but I'm this is like my long con. I am gonna
You'll
we're gonna
have
be
to keep
friends.
us updated on
They
that.
just don't know it yet.
Yes, please. Yeah, no, I
will.
We were sitting there talking, and I looked out the window and I saw a black cat run
gosh.
by. I was like, oh my goodness.
You gotta love a trash goblin.
Yeah.
Love them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They are.
Trash goblins are good.
So we have.
They're cuties. They end up being the best cats.
Mine's Butthole, but he's still the best cat. He's the best butthole.
Yo.
So, you know.
No.
No, but I agree. Bingley and Nari are my again, they're my ham sandwiches. Oliver is very persnickety, and like we do this thing where like he'll let me pick him up for like a couple of seconds to a little bit longer depending on how he's feeling, and then he'll get very squirrely and he'll just like start pushing on me, like let me down, and I'm like, but I love you. Yeah, and he like hates new people. Like if anybody new comes to my apartment, he's like, I don't know, and we'll like hide. But it's very cute because like if I am sitting and like reading or doing work at home, he'll sit like on my lap or like on my chest if I'm like more reclined reading, and we can just sit like that for like hours.
What
he
a
doesn't need to move.
cutie. A baby.
Title drop. Books
Yeah.
I read with my cat.
Jeez.
Ayo.
Incredible.
It's like in the book, like when you get to the book and like they put the title of the book in,
Like,
and you're like,
Been waiting for this
Canon
one.
event.
Yep.
yes.
I think that might be the first time that's come up.
I think so, because like it
Really?
was. I was reading. I think I was reading Onyx Storm the other day, and like Danny was sitting next to me, and I'm like, if there was a way I could get a picture of us right now, I would, but I can't. Like, it's just not a good.
That's why that picture I sent y'all, I was like, this is the perfect time. I'm literally reading, and they're surrounding me.
It's true.
And on that note, do we want to move on to the books that we're currently reading?
Yeah. Lucy, since you're a guest, why don't you go first?
Oh, cool. All right. Let me pull up my story graph so I say all of the words correctly. Okay. So I am a Chaos Goblin. So I'm currently reading 2 books. One is out, one is not out. So the one that I'm reading that is currently published is The Starlight Heir by Amalie Howard. It is a fantasy romance, and there's like a we're going on a journey aspect. Our main character, she is very good at forging things, and she is picked to be one of the many potential brides of the Prince of the Realm, and then things happen. It's a fun time. I'm not too far into it, but I'm like excited to see where it goes.
It sounds really good.
That one's fun, and I love the cover. It's so pretty.
I was trying to find the.
Yes. I'm also reading A Showgirl's Rules for Falling in Love by Alice Murphy, which is coming out in May, and it is a dual timeline romance that is both. So it's a historical romance, and then also there is like a thread of the story that is contemporary, and it's just really unique and fun. And I'm also not super far into that one, but I love the. It's a story about body positivity and found family and spicy romance, which are like some of my favorite
It sounds
things.
really interesting. I don't know of too many books that have like a historical fiction plot and also like a contemporary one. I think that's kind of fun.
Yes, and it's like the contemporary one is kind of it is a frame narrative for the story. So like it is a researcher who, like, that's our contemporary storyline, who is like researching the story of the character in our historical storyline, and like she
Oh, I
is
love
telling the
those.
story to us, like
Oh,
in
I
the
love
framework
that.
of
I love
the
that, like
novel.
framing
So
device.
Same.
I do too.
So is this one technically an arc that you got?
It is actually. So I had the great pleasure of meeting Alice Murphy at the National Booksellers Association annual conference that happened in last month in February in Denver. So she's super nice, and I'm just so excited for the book. And for Val and Courtney specifically, it is now on my short list for book club.
Interesting.
So we'll see.
Ooh, I love getting the inside
Yeah. Even if it doesn't quite make it onto that, just because of the like scheduling of months, it is definitely going to be one that I'm like lovingly and emphatically throwing at people. Like, have you heard of this book?
It sounds really good. I want to read it.
I love that. Yeah, it really does. I'm reading Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. This was a recommendation from Lucy, so I'm glad the timing worked out that you get to be on the episode when I'm reading it. So
So excited to hear what you think, Val.
I'm very excited. It's good so far. I'm only like 15% in, so I'm not very far yet, but I'm liking the premise of it so far. So it's this girl who ends up having cancer from a very young age, and she was in the hospital, and she didn't have a very good like outlook.
Okay.
Yeah, she has like a negative outcome, like health wise. So, but someone visits her in the hospital, and some stuff happens, and then she got thrown into her favorite book series, and she ends up being one of the evil characters
Ooh,
in that book series.
that sounds fun.
Yes, I'm very much
Added it to
enjoying
my
it
thing.
so far. I'm trying to talk without spoiling anything.
You did great.
Yeah, that is one that like so much of what I love of it is like, but I can't tell you
Yeah.
because it's a spoiler. Yeah, it's an isekai for anybody who's familiar with that terminology.
Yep. I read a lot of webtoons that are like that. And I was like, especially one, like, or not particularly ones, but a good handful of ones where they isekai into a world and they become the villain. And then, but their personality in general is not very villainous, so they're just like, ah.
For those who don't know, what does that mean? Because I don't know what that means.
Oh, so usually the character somehow dies or like they go to sleep or something and they're transported to a fictional world, usually a book that they're reading or a webtoon that they're reading. And so you kind of have an idea of like the plot that's about to happen. You know, not always. That's not the law, but you know, that's usually what happens.
I didn't know there was a word for that.
And it's usually some sort of fantasy world.
Yeah. That's a
Read
great
one like that.
explanation. I didn't know how to explain it.
It's a transportation device.
Oh, just that something that I like that Sarah Rees Brennan does in Long Live Evil is like right up at the top of the narrative, conveys to the reader via verbiage that happens in a character or in a conversation that two characters have, that Ray, our main character, is going to be transported into a quote unquote body that is no longer in use.
Mm-hmm.
So like we, the audience, don't have to feel squidgy about like, did she like push someone's consciousness out? Like, where did they go? Did they die? Or like, are they also in the body? So I personally really appreciated that. Like, it helped me like just like really sink in and get really excited about the story without being like, oh no.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Because there's times where like the body, like the character had also just died, but then it's an available body, so then our person that gets transported gets to use his body instead, or I don't know, like the consciousness is of the fantasy body is like, you know what, I'm done with this life, and they just kind of go away and let the other person like take over the controls for a while. I've
Yep.
read a couple webtoons like that too.
Yeah, I just noticed I'm on Storygraph. It looks like it's a part of a series, and the second one's coming out later this year. I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is.
I'm excited.
I'm feral for that book. I am like begging everybody I know in the book world to send me an arc when there is one because I need to know. I need answers.
Oh no. Is it gonna live in my brain until the second?
Okay, here's the thing. Yes, I know that when we talked about it, I asterished it to you that like, oh no, it's gonna hurt your feelings just a little bit.
You know, I love a book that rips at your heart. So I'm all in. I'm ready.
Okay.
That's the only book I'm reading right now.
Whoa.
I know. Normally I have 2 going. I know. I don't know who am I?
What is
Yeah, because
this?
usually we got a Brandon Sanderson one.
Listen, I finished Wind of Truth a couple of weeks ago. I'm taking just a little break.
It's okay. I got you covered on that part. You know.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh yeah, because Allison, aren't you now reading Wind and
I
Truth?
am now reading Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. And as we all know, this is a really long book.
This
So-
is literally the most mentioned book in our.
It is. It is.
I keep a document on that.
I am 32% through it though. So
Dang.
Oh,
He's trucking through.
well,
You had a lot of time during spring break.
I did. And I've been kind of late at work, like staying after, so I listened to it while I'm sitting there working. So, you know, I'm trucking. I like it so far. It's
Proud
really
of you.
good. It's very good. So, yeah.
So you're
That's
not
one of-
going to take 4 months to finish the book like I did.
no, probably not. I'll probably maybe take one more episode to mention it. I'm guessing if I continue at this rate. So,
Dang.
that'd be my guess.
You'll have to tell me your thoughts about it so far later.
I love it. And then my next book, which is absolutely on a total opposite spectrum of any book I've ever read, honestly, is called Heretical Fishing by Haylock Jobson. Just to read the
You
description.
might explain this a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a really weird setup. And I just learned the term because you guys just used it. I don't remember what you just called it. It's one of those. It starts with the I.
the isekai?
The isekai, it's actually one of those. So that was kind of convenient that I now know what that means. But I'm going to read part of the description. It says, a world abandoned by the gods, mystifying cosmic forces, unimaginable power for those willing to ascend, and a hero who would rather go fishing. So it's literally like, he's Australian. I'm listening to it, so thankfully the guy like actually reading it is Australian, so it works really well.
Hold on. It's important because you know how I am with Australian accents. Is it a decent one?
I think so. I mean, I've not caught anything like obnoxious about it, so I think it's pretty good.
All right.
And it's basically a literature RPG. It is a role-playing game. So he like wakes up, this isn't giving anything away really because it happens in like the first page or two probably. Something happens and he wakes up and he's in this new world and he's basically like cultivating his own area and like building up. It's a role-playing game. And all he wants to do is go fishing, but fishing is frowned upon in this society. It's like that's where like the gods like abandoned them. So he's surrounded by these different cults that like worship crabs or they worship there's lobsters. Just different random things, you know. Everybody thinks he has this plot to get them. Like the governor's like he's up to something evil and he's like, dude, I'm literally just going fishing. That's all I want to do. Like, he doesn't know anything. He's just like, I'm just fishing. And then like the cult people are like, he's trying to beat us to ascension and blah blah blah. And he's like, I'm just fishing. And it is amazing. He has a pet crab that he named Sergeant. I just lost the name. Oh my god. 1 second. Give me a second. Sergeant Literally been telling people about this book all day. Now I can't think of the little crabby crab.
Yeah, you texted us the other day about it.
Sergeant Snips. Sergeant Snips. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
That's good.
Yes. And the
Incredible.
crab can shoot laser beams. He's got little spiky little crab spikes and all this stuff, and he can, well, it's a she is a queen, literally she's got like a little,
Ooh.
amazing. I love her. She's so sassy, and her nemesis is an otter, so you should read this book. It is mildly unhinged. There's like four
That's
of
my
them.
favorite.
There's like 4 of them. So I'm like, I'm gonna just read all of these. You're just gonna keep.
I'm actively adding it to my TBR.
Hold on, I have a suggestion. I think Allison should pick this book for when it's her turn to pick a book club book.
To be honest, it was on the top 2. So
Excellent.
if you would like to read it, it can be our next book club book, because it's probably gonna be a 5-star, to be honest. So high quality. I love it. It's ridiculous.
I love it.
Absolutely absurd.
I love it. I'm okay with that.
And just the title of all of the chapters are so ridiculous. Like,
Ooh.
Carcinization, the cult of the Leviathan, guard crab, sapient aura blade
Guard
shooting
crab.
crab.
Wait, serious question. Does the crab have tall eyes?
Is the crab like Gary with the long guys, or is he like Mr. Krabs with the tall eyes,
Gary's
or
a
is he
snail.
beady eyes? Yeah, no, but I know Gary's a snail, but he has tall eyes.
I don't remember the specific description because part of this, I don't want to give away some stuff.
Okay.
Just think of how a role-playing game, and
Have to turn back into a book club episode to find out.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And however many months that would be.
Or read it yourself.
Exactly. So, those are my 2 books. I only have 2 this time. Usually I have 3. But...
Yeah. Everyone is on the
Did you finish the Mitochondria book?
I did, and my brain hurt, but it was very good. I think it was a 4.5 for me.
Nice.
It was very good. It's just my brain was thinking.
Was it too brainy?
It was a lot. I don't know if I'll pick one that brainy in the near future, but it was very interesting, very informative. Very dry compared to my other sciencey ones. So that's why I'm like, okay, I need a break from that for a minute. Very cool. Cool information.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is it my turn?
Yes,
It
is.
is.
Okay. So, I have 3. But,
Wow.
well, because the third one is an arc.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
yes.
that's the one. I'm now reading book 2, the one that I'm supposed to be reading as the arc, which is called Don't Hold Your Breath by L. Taylor. Before it was, the first book was Take a Deep Breath. So it's good so far. And it's a little bit longer than the last one. It's still on the short side, but it's a little bit longer than the last one. It's a dark romance, contemporary romance, and they really dive into some serious issues that a lot of people do deal with on a daily basis.
Nice. Do you know when that one's coming out?
Oh, that one's coming out March 28th. It's literally today that we're recording.
Oh,
it's
man.
today. When I'm done with it, I'll talk about it a little bit more. So my second book is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty.
Heyo! Oh, wait, really? That's so fun. Sorry. So my cat Nari is named for.
I was wondering
Nari
about
from the Dave of Ed trilogy.
Yeah, no, the second book is really good so far. I've been trucking through it, and it's like a 20-hour book. So
that's a long
I am at 74%. Literally, stuff is about to hit the ceiling fan. I could just tell it's about to happen.
It's going down.
It's going down. And then I'm reading a nonfiction, The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, by Steve Brusatte. I was like struggling today reading it, and it's like just a little bit brainy because he was like talking about the evolution of like when dinosaurs became dinosaurs, and like in terms of, like evolution stuff. So it's like, yeah, and the ankles do this, and the was it metatarsal bones and this, and I'm like, oh my god, hang on, wait.
Is this why you texted me the other day and you're like, dinosaurs are just chickens?
Yeah, no, I'm like,
They are.
I have realized in my ripe old age of 30 that birding is going to become my new hobby. And I think I realized when I opened this book, I'm like, I think I like birds so much because I loved dinosaurs, because birds are dinosaurs.
That does track.
My love for dinosaurs is why I love birds today now.
I love that.
Incredible.
I'm so happy you're listening to that book or reading that book. I liked it a lot.
I think I will too. I
is
am
brainy.
only 9% in. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to just read a couple pages at a time just to make sure I'm processing it. But
Now
yeah,
you're
because
making
it's
me
like
want
it's
to
making
listen or read a book about dinosaurs.
who doesn't want to read a book about dinosaurs?
Okay,
it.
fine. I'll add it to my TBR.
Twist my arm, why don't you?
Can't believe you're roping me into another one.
As our
Sorry.
TBRs just keep getting longer and longer
And longer.
and longer.
What is my TBR at? Let's see.
Mine's outrageous. It's at 91.
Mine is at 82.
Oof. I'm worse.
Do you remember when I said in episode 1 I wanted to get my TBR down this year?
Listen, you've been working through it.
I've gotten like 2 books off my TBR this year so far. I just keep adding more.
I
Right.
just
Look, admirable goal.
I just realized I lied. I do have 3 books.
Oh my god.
Never added it to
Why would you
Storygraph,
hide
so I
us,
wasn't
Allison?
thinking about it.
What is it?
It's called Hello Heartbreaker. It's by Kelsey Haas. She has a whole series. They're all in the same town. It's like a cute contemporary romance. So like you can follow all the other different characters and siblings and friends. It's this one
Cute.
specifically is the girl moved away and now she's come back in her old boyfriend. They like rekindle and all that, like that typical cutesy whatever. I'm only about 9% in it, so I don't have a ton to talk about, but I like her books because they're like plus size main characters and everything, and I don't know, makes you feel good as a plus
Love
size
that.
girl. So
That.
but yeah, that's the 3rd book. I totally forgot that existed. Let me add that.
What do you mean you don't obsessively track everything on Storygraph?
Usually am really good about it. I just noticed it as I was looking at my TBR. I'm like, wait, I'm reading that right now, so it's not to be read, it's being read right now. Oh, sorry for interrupting you,
Nice.
Courtney.
Oh no, you good. I was
Paper.
just about to ask if we had any 5-star alerts. I can go first real quick.
Do
Onyx Storm was 5 stars, and we've talked about that plenty of times. So it's just Allison had a 5-star for that. I now have a 5-star for that.
Whoop! Broccoli is life.
Thank you. I understand why broccoli is life now. It drove me nuts.
That was the
drove me
plan.
nuts.
We succeeded.
I know why broccoli is life, but I'm never going to read this book, I don't think.
Probably
Thank you,
not.
Allison, for telling me.
You're welcome. I had to mention him.
You're cutie.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I have a 5-star.
Oh, I was going to ask, can I pull one from my archive? Because I revisited this book recently and I forgot
Yeah.
how much I enjoyed it.
Of course.
If you revisit it recently, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then my 5-star alert is called Financial Feminists Overcome the Patriarchy's Bullshit to Master Your Money and Build a Life You Love by Tori Dunlap.
Oh, you told us about
yes,
this.
you told us about this one.
I have. So it's kind of nerdy in a way that it's like financial freedom focused and like so Tori is about our age, she's in her 30s, and she has a lot of like actionable steps in the book to help like kind of master your money and get ahead of like debt and like everything like that, and like how to invest and stuff like that. And I was revisiting just my budget and everything like that, and I was like, I should look at this book, and just like found a couple chapters that I wanted to revisit, because there's like a lot of like I mentioned, a lot of actionable steps in the book. Like at the end of every chapter, there's like a question. And even within the chapter, there's like, hey, like pause here and do XYZ. So
That's cool.
I really like that book. I think I told you when I first finished reading it last year that you both need to read this because it changed how I view money.
I probably should,
In
because
a good
I
way.
literally just made an actual budget where I wrote everything down that I spend every month, and I was like, oh, wow, I could be saving more money.
I'm so proud.
Yeah. I found a template, and I'm like, I'm just going to do this, because I don't know Excel enough, so I'm just going to borrow this here template that's already made.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'll need to read
Excel
that
can be
sometime.
scary sometimes.
It can. I used to be really
Yeah.
good at it, but when you don't use it, you kind of lose it. So, but yeah, I have a 5-star. I have a 5-star for Sunrise on the Reaping. It's the Hunger Games came out by Suzanne Collins. Speechless is kind of what it left me, honestly. It was so good. It's sad.
Ooh.
I mean, the stories.
I'm not even surprised.
You won't be surprised if you know who Haymitch is. It's sad. It's a sad story, but it is very good, very impactful. This was the one I had mentioned, like in my looking forward to it for this year, and they set it up in the description of like, when you've been set up to lose everything you love, what's there to fight for, and like just take a knife to the heart, like you're just crying at the end, like. And
well, that's just rude.
Yeah, but it gives you a lot of insight to him, like why he is the way that he is, and it gives you so much more like depth to different characters, because his wasn't that long ago from like Katniss's, so you get to see other characters that you would know from the later on stories. So it was really good.
Which was the mentor to Katniss and what's his face, right?
Yes.
Peeta? Yes.
Yeah.
What's his face? Yes. Thank you.
Bread boy.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I saw a lot of people on the internet being mad that people were saying that Haymitch wins the games. Like, obviously, like
he's still alive.
Yeah.
I saw that too, and I'm like,
yeah.
Are we not?
Wait. No one's paying attention to the fact that he had a home in the Winter Circle neighborhood thing?
Yeah.
He was the only one living there. It's still Katniss and Peeta.
Exactly.
Well, the internet is...
And he's also their mentor. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, he was their mentor. So, like, clearly he was a past winner.
Yeah.
And I saw, like, people on the internet being mad that people were like, oh, yeah, Haymitch obviously won. And I was like, hold up, I didn't even read these books and I know this.
Like, they even talked about, they did talk about how he won his games. They, did talk about the story.
Yeah, no, it's explicitly mentioned.
But they did.
If I'm remembering correctly, don't they, talk about how they watched some of the film from it, or else that was in the movie where they added it? I don't know. And I'm like, it's literally there.
That, I don't know. I don't recall.
I don't remember completely.
This is 15 years ago. I don't recall.
See, I just re-listened to them.
I don't recall either. But...
whenever Songbird came out. I don't remember. But yeah, people are dumb. Sorry.
They're so dumb.
I'm sorry, but come on. I will say, just as a nod,
I was gonna say, it just has to be people who didn't read the original trilogy. Enough distance happened that maybe there are people who are coming to that one first.
That's true.
Maybe.
That'd be a wild way to read the series.
I'll give them a benefit.
No, it would be, especially since I feel like even a minor Google is Yeah, it's a prequel about Haymitch, a person that we know wins because he's present in these other books, and the whole premise is that everybody but one person dies.
Right.
Like,
Oh, people.
Oh Lord.
I will say it is unfortunately very fitting for like what's kind of currently going on. Like her whole because if you know like her books and stuff, supposedly I don't know that much about Suzanne Collins, but I've heard that she only writes stuff when she feels like there's something to say. And like the whole first page of her
Yes.
story, she has 4 different quotes. Like one's about propaganda and like the truth with bad intentions. It's very fitting for right now. Let's just say clearly,
Oh, I love that.
she's very clearly
She
making
angry.
her feelings. So at least that's how it comes across to
You know,
me.
yes.
good for her.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like Val, to your point about something that I have seen on the internet is people being like, get your wokeness out of books, and then like in reference to the Hunger Games, and it's like, I'm sorry, how did you read the Hunger Games? Because like, what are you talking about?
Literally.
It was always quote unquote woke. Like, what?
The whole
That was
premise.
woke before woke was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. The whole premise.
You know, as my ripe age of 32, I am the oldest of this crew. I've
You are the
realized
elder.
the internet. I am
You are
the book podcast elder.
the village elder.
Oh no.
You're our Hunger Games mentor.
Yes,
The internet's gonna find anything to complain about.
They are.
Let's be real.
That is
that is
true.
true. Yes, 100%.
No matter how well something's written or like very clearly it is a prequel, people are going to be like, "Oh, it's spoilers!" Like,
No
come
shit.
on.
Well, if you
Yeah.
read the other ones, you should read this one because it is very good. But prepare to feel sad. No.
You know, I've only ever seen the movies, and maybe this is jumping into a future podcast episode topic, but like, should I read them? Are they good? Are they better than the movies?
Oh, much better.
I think you should read them just because I think they hold up well. I've actually been considering doing a reread because a friend of mine did, and she was like, I picked up on so much more than I did when I was reading them like contemporaneously.
Yes.
So, and I think to Allison's point, there's like, unfortunately, they are even more like relevant to the things that are happening in our culture currently. So,
And
Yeah.
as like being older reading it, like I was in high school when I read them the first time around. My brain is much more
Mhm.
ready to like pick up on more of the nuances and more of the things that they're really pointing out, and you're like, oh snap. Like okay.
Like,
See
now
where
that
they're
I've
going
lived
with
through
this. Yeah. You know.
Well, I just added another one to my TBR.
Actually, if you like, you just added 5. So
I was just about to say, well, Val.
you
I
know.
only add one at a time because then otherwise my TBR would be like 200 books.
I know,
That's
but
fair.
you're
That's
gonna
exactly
like
what I do. I don't put the next
it.
book in the series on until I finish reading the first one.
Yes. I did that for a series that had 11 books, and I was like, hold on. I need to bring this back.
Calm it down.
Hold the phone, actually.
And on that note, do we want to move on to topic of the week?
Topic of the week. Topic of the week.
Whoop, whoop. I feel like that was a really good segue book, honestly, into the topic of the week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because this week's topic is book banning. Unfortunately, the scourge, I'm gonna call it, that is occurring. I have particular experience with this, unfortunately, in my job, but you know.
I just wanted to kind of like preface this, like, we're all in Florida, and Florida has unfortunately been the hub of a lot of this conversation. So a lot of our conversation will be Florida focused, and also we have very strong feelings on this. So apologies in advance.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah, never apologize. It's great to have strong feelings about things. Yeah. Why be lukewarm when you can be all in or like, you know what? I don't need to have an opinion on that.
Fair. I take back my apology then. Rescinded.
Apology.
Yeah.
Stick it to the man.
Just be forewarned, there might be some adult language, potentially. So if there's little ears listening, I'll do my best to cut around it. Maybe. We'll see. Yes. And we had Lucy join us specifically because I know, Lucy, you have a lot of strong feelings about this, and it's going to directly impact you as a bookseller. So thank you again for joining us on this particular episode.
Yay.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. I do definitely have strong feelings about it, and I think it's for all the reasons you said, and especially like to your point, be like living in Florida which is the state that in the last school year, so 2023 to 2024, had the most bans nationwide on books. So like it is definitely something that is like a big issue and a very omnipresent thing in our state. And yeah, so happy to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at pen.org, and they had a little graphic, and in the 2023-2024 school year, Florida had over 4,500 books banned. That's, like Lucy said, the number one in the US. Texas, or no, it wasn't Texas, it was Iowa that was in second. So, yeah.
Those potatoes.
Yeah, I was also shocked by that.
Oh, I said I would think it would be Texas as number 2, but it's number 3.
Yes, it is number 3.
Number 3.
Yep. But like, who knows? Because this the 2024-2025 school year everybody's been wild in. The state of Utah itself published a list of I believe it's 13 books that like no public, like all public schools in Utah have to ban. So yep, it's 13. Sorry, I was just double checking that.
Like every single school district has banned these books, which is rare.
No, like yes, no, like not. It was not individually done. Like from like the Utah state government on high, the State Board of Education released this list of 13 banned books or 13 books and said no public school can carry these.
What?
Wow.
And it's the first action like that, like of its kind nationwide, at least like in recent years. But like I would not be surprised if we saw more states replicating this in the future.
Yeah, that's really great. And a lot of those books that Utah is just like flat out banning had some marginalized representation, right? Like majority of them were either like LGBTQ representation or like race, that kind of stuff, right?
For their list, I would say it's actually just from like what I'm seeing from an overview, I would say it's more based in sexual content because I think the whole ACOTAR is on here, which is a choice.
That's ridiculous.
That one pops up so much.
No, truly.
I mean,
the vitriol for book bannings.
Honestly, like it's not even okay. So people always want to call it like fairy porn, right? It's not. It's like I saw this breakdown of the pages and it's barely anything in there is sexually explicit. Like I don't understand. There's so many other books that could
There are absolutely steamy scenes in there.
Oh yes,
and
yes.
it's definitely more than her previous series that she did, for sure, 100%. But it is definitely not like the entire book.
Yeah.
At all.
I'm just saying
Like,
people
not
make it
for
out
what-
like the whole book is that. Like no.
Like, no, that's a whole separate genre. That shouldn't even be in schools at all. That's reasonably should not be in schools.
Right, and I don't think that you would think a majority of schools, not only in Utah but in the US, probably won't carry that book to begin with.
Right. Like you're not going to see it in an elementary school library.
Absolutely.
Is kind of yeah. And that is something that Pen America talks about when they're like defining on their website what a book ban is and kind of what that looks like. But something that they also talk about is that libraries and educators choose books for their literary and educational value. And I think that that is something that is just so often left out of the conversation. So like Allison, you are obviously a teacher by trade. Before I became a bookseller and like at the very beginning of my bookselling career, I was studying to be a public librarian. I kind of switched tracks to do this, but like that is something that like they teach you, like I can speak to, they teach you in library school, which you, to be a fully certified librarian, you do have to get a master's degree in information and library science. They like teach you how to curate collections based on population types or specific groups and specifically for specific age groups. And so it's just wild that like people like they do these things or they get caught up kind of in like the contention of like, oh, it's to borrow the terminology that we were just using for ACOTAR, like, oh, it's fairy porn, quote unquote. And it's like, regardless of whether that is or is not true, you know, it is librarians are trained to be like, oh, is this age appropriate content or is it not age appropriate content?
Exactly.
And then act accordingly and curate accordingly.
So I have a question, and just maybe to help clarify for some listeners, when they say book banning, is it like the library is not allowed to carry this book, or is a student not allowed to bring this book on campus?
So it can be kind of a wide range of things. Typically, when we're talking about it, it is going to be on the library's end itself. So like if the school or school district is saying that book cannot be on the shelves or it has been restricted. So like, let's say it's like a high school, maybe only it's restricted to only like the 11th and 12th graders can check it out.
Yeah.
Or they can, like kids can only have access to it if like the librarian is there with them while they're looking at it. So kind of like any of those things fall under Pen America's definition of book banning because that is not free access to that material. As far as I know, there is not, at least like it's something that has reached kind of like my radar, and especially and again, we are also just talking about public schools and public libraries because like private schools and we don't really have a ton of like private libraries, but like private institutions, like part of them being private is them being able to restrict or curate or whatever, like content more specifically. So like also kind of, you know, that piece. But yeah, so like kind of that's what we're talking about is that it's, or there's also a thing. So in Florida, a couple years ago when like the Don't Say Gay bill dropped, and teachers had to like really cull through their school oh my gosh, their classroom libraries, that's the word I'm looking for. They were banned pending investigation because the like verbiage was unclear also about like what books could stay and what books had to be taken out. So like students did not have access to these books just because they were just sitting somewhere literally waiting to be evaluated. So that is also kind of in that.
Allie, you probably have more insight into that, but I believe a lot of books are still like on that list waiting to be evaluated, right?
So an interesting thing, that was a whole experience in itself. When that first came out, it was a whole bunch of like, what do we even do? Like there was no guidance at all. So when that first happened, they were just like, well, if you're questioning it, hold it, you know, whatever. And then, so some of our, like, for my personal, like, friends and other colleagues, we were just like, I have over 600 to 700 books in my library. I don't have the time, and you're not paying me to go through all of this. This was before we had guidance to go through all of this. So I'm just not going to put my library out because I am not putting my teaching license at risk for some random parent to come in and say, I don't like that book, and then go on, you know, their rampage from there. So initially it was very up in the air. We were like, we're just not going to put it out because we have hundreds of books. Some of my colleagues have thousands. Like they have a wall of books in their classrooms.
Which is such a shame it had to come down to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so that whole time frame was like, I'm just not going to risk it, so I'm not going to put it out. Like, you're not going to risk my job, you know what I mean, on this, on people being
Yeah.
petty.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we're just not going to put it out.
Definitely.
Yeah. So then, because it takes too much to get a teaching certificate in the first place, like the amount of money and other crap that goes into it, we're not risking that. And it's really sad because like we've been kind of the librarian for our own classroom because we've cultivated our library for books that we think our kids will enjoy. We obviously know if it's appropriate or not. We're not going to give the kids a book that's not age appropriate. I teach kindergarten. I'm not going to give them, you know what I mean? I'm not out here trying to warp their minds. I'm not trying to indoctrinate them. I can't even get them not to eat glue half the time. Like, so I mean, it's not like something that's in the forefront of our mind. But then when we finally did get some semblance of like, okay, here's what we're gonna do, I did take the time, and I think I could say that most, if not all of my colleagues and stuff did decide, yes, we're gonna do it because we think our kids should have access to these books. Our district ended up coming out with, they partnered with an app or something, I think it's called Beanstack, where we had to go through and scan every single book in our library, and if it wasn't in the database, we had to type in the ISBN and everything, scan it all. And then, unfortunately for our librarian, all of our classroom libraries went on that database, and our librarian was in charge of combing through it and like picking out which ones were the ones that were questionable or whatever, which I don't know really what came of that because I was never told any of mine, shockingly. I'm joking with that, not shockingly. Like, so then it was just kind of like radio silence. So we did all of that work, mind you, unpaid. I did it over summer on my own time to scan my 600 to 700 plus books, and at this point it's over 700. To then be told nothing. So, you know, I know there's some that are floating around that they're like, these are in that imaginary list, but then we're not being told if we should take it out. So you're like in that weird in between of like, well, do I keep it? Do I put it out? Cause
Right. Do you put it on a high shelf so a kid has to ask you?
Yeah. Like I will say, unfortunately, like the beginning of the school year, I'm not going to be super specific because I don't know who listens, but there was a person who I was like, they're not going to like this book, and I'm not going to take this risk because I had a really cute book. It was called, I think it's I Love the Color Purple or something, and it's a boy who just wants to wear a purple dress. But I'm like, I know for a fact that this is going to be an issue for some people, unfortunately. So I'm like, I'm just going to hold this because I don't want to risk my license. And it sucks because I have kids in my class who are boys, and they love the color pink, and they love all these things, and they don't see anything about it. And it's just really unfortunate. So
Yeah, because purple's a color.
Yeah. And he has like this cute, he like turns it, you know that, oh, what is he? He looks like a model. He wears the tuxedo dresses. He's really famous. And
Oh, is it Billy
I
Porter?
think so. Yeah. And like the boy at the end of the book has this purple tuxedo dress, and it's so cute, and he's just so happy. And I'm like, I want them to read that.
Oh.
And you know what's ironic is it was sold at our book fair. So
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. But like, so that whole time frame was such a, I'm gonna use the word, it was such a clusterfuck. Like it was just many unknowns.
Yeah, it seems like the legislature in Florida went ahead and put this train into motion, and then as soon as any of the school districts asked for clarification, they just kind of went radio silent.
So they did what they usually
Yep.
do. Literally.
Right.
That is the life of a teacher, is people who don't know schools or these things set these rules, and then they don't clarify, and then the people who it actually affects are like, well, what do we do? Because I don't want to lose my job.
Right. It almost feels like the government's out to get teachers, which has to feel like complete ass, to be frank.
It feels like shit.
They're making it so much harder for you to do your job, to educate the next generation of children and like have a functioning society, really, because especially in elementary, what you teach, like those are extremely formative years in learning how to read, learning how to interpret words, and like to like take meaning from words and not just like the surface level. Like you learn like a lot of critical thinking and stuff like that. And for a lot of kids, not being able to see themselves in the books that they're reading kind of disinterests them. I know,
Yeah.
like as a kid, I didn't see any disability representation until I sought it out. And I don't think that's like on any of my teachers or my parents or anything. I think that was just like those books weren't being written in the
Yeah, they weren't
90s and
being
early
written and they weren't being
2000s.
published, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
In that time era.
Exactly, yeah. And now the Florida legislature is coming for any semblance of representation.
Yes. And I think Allison brings up a really good point about like not like preemptively kind of removing that book from your collection. And that is something that Pen America talks about, and something that I got to hear Mayoko Bobby talk about, who is the author of Genderqueer, one of the most banned books in the country. And it's the shadow banning.
Mhm.
So a book may not be like the book in your example, Allison, is not explicitly banned or explicitly told like, oh, you cannot have that. But because it contains content that the individual like curating the collection understands could cause a kerfuffle, could be something that people challenge, and especially like in Florida again, where it's very like there's not a ton of guidance. And correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, but like anybody can like challenge a book. Like you do not have to have a child in the school system. And like you don't even have to be in the school district. You can just like,
If,
"Ayo, I hate that
if
book."
you feel like it's inappropriate, you can write a strongly worded letter or like go to a meeting and be like, hey, this book, I don't believe in it. And then you have to obviously state your case or whatever. And you can just do it just because you feel like it. It's great.
I wonder if there's a stat out there that talks about of the books that are brought up, what percentage of them are eventually banned in counties or school districts or states.
I know that there's different lists.
Yeah.
Of banned books per county, depending on where and when. Because I was finding some, like for like Florida ones, but it'd be like a county that I don't personally live in, or anything.
Right. Yeah, I'm just wondering if like there's some kind of aggregated list out there. Some data nerd probably.
Probably is.
If it doesn't exist, some data nerd could make this like the number of times a book is brought up and what percentage of the time it was banned.
So I'm trying to think. Okay, because there is like some data for that, I would say, in Pen America's Banned in the USA report. So I don't think it's quite what you're talking about, but so like one of the things that they extrapolate out is instances of book bans and like how they have increased over the past 3 years. So this wouldn't be but then they also have like unique titles. So it's not necessarily a reflection of like, oh, like how many times was that thing brought up and then or that title brought up and then banned, but like so in literally from 2022 to 2023, the amount of book ban like instances of book bans almost tripled from 3,362 in the 2022-2023 school year to 10,046 in the 2023-2024 school year.
Wow.
And then like as far as unique titles go, that amount did triple from school year to school year recently. So in 2022 and 2023, there were 1,557 unique titles banned across the nation. And then in 2023 to 2024, there were 4,231. And so when we're talking unique titles, that is like literally individual books.
Wow. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah. It kind of breaks my heart because, like, I don't know. It sucks.
No, I was just going to continue kind of going back to what were you calling it? Shadow banning? Like, it just breaks your...
yeah, like a shadow ban or like a soft ban.
It broke my heart to have to even take that out. Like, it makes you feel like shit because you're like, this is a good book, but I don't want to risk it.
Mm-hmm.
But so you're like, it's like an internal war. I literally had to talk with a couple people. I'm like, I don't know what to do because why? Like, there's nothing wrong with this book except someone's gonna have a problem with it. And
yeah, I mean, even like as a writer, because I have a children's book that'll be coming out soon, and I was debating whether or not I should use the word spellbound, and will it be banned because I used the word spellbound? And some person thinks that I'm promoting witchcraft,
Right.
and it's a sci-fi fantasy.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Like, it's a really tough thing because it's clear that once again people in politics think that they know better than the people that literally go to school for this. Like, we see it all the time with like medical stuff, and now we're seeing it with like education. I mean, we've been seeing it for decades at this point, but it's getting to a point now where it like alarm bells are going off in more people's heads because they're like seeing it more directly in their face.
I think it's wild that some of the books that are on the current list were ones that we read in our curriculum when we were in school, such as Kite Runner. I loved Kite Runner, and I think having like books like that, because it took place in the Middle East and it was Middle Eastern characters. I believe it is technically fiction, but it is still based off the author's experience while he lived in Afghanistan. And even though, like, yes, there is some very adult content in it, it's still, like, especially at that time when we were kids, it gave me the insight of, like, oh, you know what? Middle Eastern people are still just people. They're not this terrorist. Not everyone's a terrorist. They're just trying to survive.
Right.
It gave that mindset of, like stop, like, demonizing them. Because I read it in school.
Right.
Because representation matters. Sorry. It's just like... It is the hill I will die on. And like Val, when you were talking about like that you didn't see yourself in books when you were younger, and it is like the thing that it just makes me like just both so furious and so sad that like when I was younger, books were my refuge. It was the place where I not only found myself, but also, it absolutely helped me cultivate empathy for experiences that were not my own, and for and like helped me learn and see viewpoints that weren't my own. And I am so grateful to have had my empathy and to have my like frame of understanding of the world around me expanded by the books that I got to read. And I can't imagine how lonely it would feel to like, because like kids are smart, and like Val, you brought up too about how like we're leaving so many people out of the conversation, and one of the main groups that we are leaving out is the students themselves. And like kids are smart, and kids are also able to discern like what content they want to engage with and what they don't.
Right.
And so like we are also like taking that choice away from them, which I think is a skill in and of itself to be able to like to have that discernment.
Absolutely.
But like I just can't I can't imagine how sad it would be to like look for yourself on the shelf and to know that there were books out there, but then to know that like there are just these adults who are like literally rabid at the idea of like not allowing you to have access to that book or that story. And like, I can't imagine how that would feel to be a young person.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm kind of glad that I am an adult in this situation, and I can buy my nephews books that expose them to viewpoints that aren't their own, and can like bring that world and, like you said, kind of help form their empathy and just worldview a little bit more. But a lot of kids may not have someone in their life that's willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it should be on anyone directly in their lives to have, one, the financial means to do that, and two, the like physical means to either ship it to them or give it to them, drive to a bookstore, that kind of stuff. Where like libraries and school libraries are so like important. Kids have so much more access to like a school library because especially public school, kids are
Mhm.
there. It's, like, I'm sure, Allison, you take your kids to the library, on a regular basis.
Every other week.
So like
Oh,
not having that opportunity to read a book with expanding worldviews is really sad.
yeah.
And they just get so excited. Like they just want to experience a story. It's not,
Right.
I don't know.
And
Yeah.
like you said earlier, Allison, you're not like indoctrinating any of the kids. You're just like telling them a story. And in a lot of, especially like kindergarten, first grade, they're not going to fully grasp what's going on in the story, most likely. Like, it's just like a fun thing that their imagination can go wild. But like a couple years from now, they might reflect on that book and realize, oh, that's what they were saying,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like some of my favorite stories, some of my favorite ones have such deeper meanings to them. Like as an adult, I can be reading it to them and I know what this is trying to
Mhm.
teach them. And at least as of like a kindergartner's age, yes, they get it because they might be 5 or 6, but they are so intelligent. They know like what you're trying to get them to understand.
Mhm.
They're not dumb.
Yeah.
So like it's called The Bad Seed.
Yeah.
And yeah, by Jory John. He has like I don't even know how many at this point. I have all of his books and they follow like different foods and stuff, and it's like The Bad Seed. Well, it goes through and it explains like he's not a bad person. We'll just say person. He's a seed. He's a sunflower seed. He had something happen to him. Basically, his family died.
Oh,
Oh my
And he was the only survivor.
my God.
So now it's dark, but like he has big emotions that he is trying to figure out, and he's not a bad guy. He's learning how to deal
Mhm.
with it and cope.
Yeah.
Like it's like it,
Yeah.
just so good. And like the fact that these books aren't trying to do anything negative. They're just trying to get kids to understand the world around
Yes.
them and understand empathy and understand compassion and all of these different things. There's no negative, like we're not trying to make them bad people.
Right.
Right.
It's like just be a good person.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's so fun that you brought that up because it's like they talk about indoctrination with like these themes of like, oh, that book's gonna make my kid queer. And it's like, well, no, your kid's either queer or they aren't. But like if anything, it's like, yes, we're trying to indoctrinate your kids with empathy and kindness and a appreciation for the wider world around them.
Just
God forbid you care about
exactly, just be a good person. Like that's all we want is for them to be a
Right.
good person.
Mhm.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say super random, kind of going back to the beginning of my mild rant at the beginning. What was kind of ironic was that some of the books that they were looking at and were questioning were books that were purchased in our curriculum. So the state had already approved it
Mhm.
to be purchased through the curriculum with state or whatever funds. And they're now like, oh, wait, so then they would have wasted thousands, if not millions of dollars
Right.
Yeah.
on these books that we already have in our libraries that they provided.
Oh yeah, that sounds like
They're now like, oh, maybe not.
yeah, that's super track.
So, just
I
wasting
mean,
money.
what has government ever been efficient?
True. Well,
Yeah.
it's
So I just had to say that. I'm like,
no,
it's
I
dumb.
think that's but like such a good point because like I think I can't remember if Courtney or Val you threw it into the conversation first, but like yeah, there's tons of books that are on the like because the American Library Association pulls together a list of the top banned books across the nation every year. And like when you look at historical data, it's like so many of the classics that I read, and especially like high school English.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, sure, what are we doing here? Because yeah, it was like part of my curriculum in Florida, like when I was in middle school and then my freshman year here. So
Right. Yeah, I think Courtney brought that up. But yeah,
I
it's
didn't.
like
Like there was even on the link you sent us, Lucy, I saw like the color
Mhm.
purple, which
Yep.
that's like a major motion picture and very ingrained in as a classic.
Mhm.
And what they got banned for racism, quote racism.
Yes. Well, and like Val, you were talking about it earlier when we were kind of talking about the Utah list, but like, yeah, the most banned books in the country are banned for it's featuring characters and stories about characters of color, queer stories, and then stories with quote unquote violence in them, but often that is violence that like are like that kids like should be aware of, to which I mean like intimate partner abuse or abuse from a teacher to a student or a parent to a child, and like things that like it's important for kids to have an awareness of. And yeah, just
yeah. Yeah, I have a stat actually from PEN America. Of the
Yeah.
most commonly banned books in the 2023 to 2024 school year, 44% featured people or characters of color, and 39% featured LGBTQ plus people and characters. So that's fun.
Mhm. I was just gonna say, and then like 57% is sex or sex were banned for sex or sex related topics and content. And like I think when people hear that, especially people who are like in the business of banning books, they're like, oh yeah, X is inappropriate, or like they were like sex scenes. And it's like, no, like we're talking about books that are about like puberty and again like healthy touch and like bad touch and like things like that. That like again people deserve, or children especially deserve to understand like the changes their body's going to go through, or
Right.
like how like the things that they're like feeling are normal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Something that was interesting that I should have known these would be on the list, honestly, because it's no surprise to me. I read these in high school. I got them. I think I got the first book shockingly from my school library, and then the other ones were in the public library. Crank by Ellen
Yeah.
Hopkins, and all of her books. I loved those books. Like they're very dark. So I'm not shocked that they're on that list because they deal with some really like very intense themes. Like it's drug abuse, just it's very intense read.
Mhm.
But even though yes, it explores these themes, it gave me, like we've already said, it gave me a view into that experience and that world. And honestly, it made me a better reader because she writes all in like, I don't know the fancy word for it, but it's like poetry. Like she writes in stanzas and different things, and you have to like be very analytical with how she's writing it on the page because it's kind of all over the place, honestly. And it's a really cool book to read. All of her books are like this as far as I remember because it's been over 15 years. But like those books just kind of opened my eyes, and I'm like, holy crap. Because it's like people that were my age that were in this story going through these things. And I'm like, in my world, I was a band geek. I didn't have any, like, I was innocent in comparison to like these themes in this book. Like, I'm like, she's doing like heroin and like different things. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it just opens your eyes and makes you really kind of ponder
stuff like
what's
that. Is
going
so
on.
real. Like, kids do go through that, and then kids like us who are on, you know, the better side of discipline or whatever you call it, like we aren't aware that maybe our friends are going through something like this, or look for signs and whatnot.
Right. And I have to imagine if you are someone that's going through a situation like that, reading someone else's like experience with that could help process your own experience and like figure out like, oh, this person did this thing in this book. Maybe I should talk to a trusted adult and see if they can help me do that. So like, yeah.
I was just gonna say, it kind of opened my eyes and made me like kind of, even like when I was older and I did kind of like, I have anxiety and different things, like it kind of, even though the experience in those books were like on the extreme side of it, I was like, oh, that's what this might be. Or like it kind of opens your eyes to like, wait a second, this isn't normal, you know? Not, well, quote unquote normal. Like it's just, it makes you more aware, and you're, by preventing that, you're keeping kids from knowing, like, oh, like Val just said, I need to ask for help. I need to ask for someone to talk me through this, or, you know, different things. Like, it's ridiculous. It's sad that they're keeping kids from this knowledge.
Yes, absolutely.
Fuck it. Fuck book bans.
So
Yes.
Say it, Val. Say it.
I said it. I'll say it again. Fuck book bans.
Oh man, you're really telling them.
That's awful.
Yeah. And Lucy, I how does this impact you as a bookseller? And you're very ingrained in this world, and like I'm genuinely curious. Like, does this affect what you're going to buy? I know there's no like laws yet preventing you from purchasing them, but do you make an effort to purchase more of those books, or like what's your thought process?
So my thought process is that so in a word, yes, I definitely look at what is being banned both across the nation and in our own state, and I keep my ear to the ground to see if anything is being banned or like explicitly in our county or the surrounding counties, and to like especially like get a hold of those titles, and to just do what I can, something, and like also it's also a good way. This sounds so bad, but like it is opened my eyes to some titles that are, I'm like, oh, that's actually a really great resource. I should have it in the shop. Because again, especially when we're talking about books that are like nonfiction, like about like like health, not healthy, like development, or like hey, sexuality explained to teens, like, you know, I think those are great books to have. And something I try to do is so last year we were trying to run a banned books drive where we were gonna ask the community for donations, and then we were going to buy a bunch of books and put them into little free libraries around the county. Unfortunately, Hurricane Helene hit at the like kind of in that week, so we did get some donations, but I was kind of derailed. So we're gonna try again this year. But
I think that's
knock on wood.
that,
knock on wood.
Yeah, I know, right? Knock on wood. But in that, it definitely, like, in sharing some of the resources of, like, especially what is happening in Florida and, like, what books are on the banned books list. And every time I do a display of banned books for Banned Books Week, which I want to say is in September, but don't, like, super quote me on that. Yeah, that timing would line up. It would be September. Like, people are always surprised. And they're like, oh, that book has been banned? It's like, yes, it has. And let me tell you about it.
Sorry if I can cut in real fast. Banned Book Week in 2025 is October 5th to 11th.
Fun. Okay.
Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Oh, that's great. And yeah, it's just like, so it's always top of mind on like trying to make sure that our community has access to those stories. When we can, we donate books that either are written by queer authors and or feature queer characters to our local queer community center, Visuality Southwest Florida. And unfortunately, many of those books are on the banned books list. It's very prescient. And but something that Val, you kind of touched on is that while I like, it's very important to me to have those things on our shelves. The reality is like my books are not free to the public, and so I like, while I definitely want to do what we can, it definitely makes me nervous that those things may not be readily accessible by my community, and especially by the youth in my community who I think like deserve to have access to that information. So
Because
I think that like,
even like the other night, you were asking me about one of the books I read and whether or not I thought it would be appropriate as a YA, and just to make sure that like people don't get mad at you, because like you are a business, and like it does affect the bottom line, even though it's dumb.
yes, and that was mostly just so that like I can give kind of informed knowledge to parents, in the sense, because like sometimes parents do explicitly ask me like, hey, what is the content in this book? And of course I do not know for all of them, but like it's always just good to have that information. It's that it's still definitely on the shelves, and it's still definitely going to stay there, but it's also like the categorization of a thing is important, kind of like we were talking about earlier with like how librarians and educators like curate their classroom libraries like to be age appropriate. That is something that like I try to do, like keep things kind of like where they have been, or like have been classified to kind of like fall, so that people are like not surprised by any of the stuff in it, or like not caught off guard by something that they may not have wanted to engage with because it was in a place where maybe it should or should not have been. So yeah.
Right.
And I was a kid who was checking out some very spicy content from the public library when in high school, and I am very grateful to that public library for having those things on the shelves and for giving me access to it, because as much as people, especially I think in recent years, there is there's a decided like, I don't know, people are being mean and weird about spicy books, but like, sure, there was sexual content on the page, but it also taught me a lot about like healthy communication in relationships and consent, which I like, especially when we were younger, was not something that many people were talking about.
Definitely not. Does anyone have any final thoughts?
I just want to say one thing that kind of, as we've been talking about this, just super fast, the fact that even while discussing it, this is the anxiety part of my brain, is going, oh crap, I said this, and this is going to be posted, and I'm a public educator, and someone might hear it, and like the fact that that's even a thought, you know what I mean? Like, why am I worried? I shouldn't be. I'm not worried, but like, why does that even have to be a thought?
Yeah, and I think
so
that's
stupid.
A sign of the times, unfortunately. And I hope that in the near future, we're able to kind of turn this conversation into a more positive one. Because, like, what is the end game here from the people that are pushing this agenda? Is it no books allowed in school except for the ones that they explicitly say? Is it just here, prints out these 10 pages, that's all you get? Like, what is the end game here? And obviously the end game is to have an uneducated public, because when you don't have knowledge, you don't have power. So
Very, very, very good words, Val. I liked that a lot.
Thank you.
And like to that point, I would just say keep an eye on what your local school board is doing. Again, if you live in a county, you can go to those meetings. Many of them are live streamed, or you can look up the minutes afterwards. Just keep your ear to the ground to see what is happening in your community, and like pay attention to what is happening at the state level. In 2022, a legislator in Virginia tried to sue Barnes and Noble to not carry again genderqueer and A Court of Mist and Fury without sue the Barnes and Noble so that they would not be able to sell it to anybody, like they would to minors, so they would have to check IDs to sell books and keep them on a shelf when they lock up alcohol.
Which is
I don't know,
because not every minor has an ID.
Right. Well, and that's
and
it's also just I've said flat out, and I will say it on this podcast, I am not going to ID check people to sell them books. I will go down swinging. And thankfully a judge struck that down because again, Barnes and Noble is a business. It is not a public entity. And so they protected that business's right to sell things. And because it was not considered obscene, quote unquote, to the level of legality, which means that those books did not fail the Miller test, which is a whole thing. But stuff like that makes me very nervous, just in the sense of that legislator tried it. And again, that was 2 years ago. And I feel or 3 years ago, sorry. But we're in a culturally different place even than we were then. And so I worry for the next time that it's tried and how that goes. Because again, as the more we chisel back and the more we restrict that knowledge, just like Val said, it is controlling, and it is a way to keep people in the dark and to prevent people from advocating for themselves or from being able to be fully informed citizens because they truly do not have all the knowledge. And if they will come for one book, they will come for all of the books. Just like if they will come for one person, they will come for all of the people if it suits those in power holding on to that power. So just pay attention. That's kind of the base of it.
I always think about the Stephen King tweet from January 18th, 2023. I just pulled it up. It says, "Hey kids, it's your old buddy Steve King telling you that if they ban a book in your school, haul your ass to the nearest bookstore or library ASAP to find out what they don't want you to read."
Mm-hmm.
I see that popping up more and more, people just resharing it, and it's only gotten more.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's become more relevant as the tweet has aged. Yes, that was January 2023, and here we are, March 2024, 2025. Oh my god.
I'm so sorry. I infected you.
You did.
With my bad math.
So, yeah, cool. Well, this wasn't a super bubbly episode, but I hope you had fun talking about it, even if it wasn't a super great, happy
I think it
topic.
balanced out from the beginning.
The beginning was bubbly.
Yeah.
We had naughty cats.
We did have naughty cats. It's true. Anyway, thank you, Lucy, again for being on our podcast. Where can people find you?
So we're Blinking Owl Books. We are Fort Myers' magical, queer, veteran and woman-owned independent bookstore. We are just very happy to be here and in the community and stocking our shelves with diverse and inclusive titles is of the utmost importance to us. We firmly believe that everybody in our community deserves to see themselves on our shelves, and we try our hardest to do that. So this specifically just kind of touches on a thing for us because book banning goes basically everything that we stand for. So yeah, really thank you for having me on to talk about this today. So
Yeah, we loved having you on, and we'll drop all of Lucy's social media accounts
Yeah, it was
in
so
the
nice.
description below. Thank you for listening to this episode. We do have a couple announcements.
Oh, yes. So our next book club book that we're going to be doing, which the episode will be dropping May 30th, we're going to be reading Iron Widow by Jiren J. Zhao. It is a really good book. It's a YA, and it has a lot of feminist issues, especially in Chinese and Asian cultures, and also it involves mechs, and it's really cool.
I haven't started that yet, but I got time.
I
Nice.
bought it. Oh, I
I have
It's
not
ready.
even taken that step yet. I will, eventually.
Figured I'd get
You'll
through
love it. I
wading
think
through.
you'll love it.
I hope so. I'm excited. Your description of it makes it sound, I was gonna say tasty, but really good.
hey, tasty work.
Yeah. And then, like we mentioned last episode, we do have a bookshop.org link that's in the description as well. And with bookshop.org, you get to double dip, so you can support us as a podcast, and you get to support your favorite indie bookstore. Obviously, our recommendation is Blinking Owl Books. So if you choose to buy through that link, we really do appreciate it. But again, we always want to support our indie bookstores when you can. So just not Amazon.
Well, yes. And the fun thing about Bookshop is that because we are an affiliate store, so that is our online store, if your listeners support you, it also still supports us too,
Yeah.
because they do profit pool payments out twice a year. And that's always super nice to get. So
Yeah.
it's lovely.
You get to support 2 businesses at once if you use our link.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also have a Storygraph challenge. It's called the Sunshine State Challenge 2025. Courtney came up with this idea.
I did, because I do love my state, even with all of its issues.
Yeah. And the link to that will also be in the description.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is to read a book that takes place in the modern day state of Florida. I gave it the last 20 years, pretty much since 2000. But there's also bonus challenges too, such as thrillers, horrors, or mysteries that takes place in Florida, or romance. There's a lot of good options out there, and that just feels so very Florida, and they make me so happy when I read them.
Nice.
I feel like I'm at home, even though I'm already home.
Does the whole book have to take place in Florida?
Normally it does, or I guess normally these ones on the list they do, but I guess not.
Do you have a book recommendation, Lucy?
I do. So, Float Plan by Trish Doller, and she actually lives here in our area. She's very nice. It starts in Florida, but it is a book about a character who goes on a sailing journey to find herself and come to terms with the loss of her fiance in the recent before times of the book.
That's the one you recommended me.
Yeah, it's very good, and it also features a character with a prosthetic limb, which I think that was the first book I had read that had a character with prosthetic limb. And it's a beautiful book, and the love story is delicious, and I like it so much. And yeah, so it starts in Florida, which is fun.
That is fun. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check that out on Storygraph. There's no prize or anything, but you get a little completion thing on your Storygraph.
It's a challenge to accomplish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, accomplishment.
Yeah. Well, if you complete it, we'll give you a little certificate of completion. Just DM us on social media, and we'll send you one.
Oh, I love that.
That's so fun.
Cool. Well, thank you again for listening to this episode of Books I Read with My Cat. Happy reading.
Happy reading. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Happy reading.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Books I Read with My Cat. You can find us on social media at BookCatPod. And if you have any ideas or feedback, feel free to give us an email at bookcatpod@gmail.com. Happy reading.